The Zorath Empire had long been the galaxy's undisputed conquerors. With thousands of planets under their control, their fleet, vast and terrifying, had obliterated any civilization that dared resist them. The Zorath were ruthless, efficient, and merciless. To them, Earth was just another insignificant dot in the vast galaxy, an easy target, ripe for the taking. Commander Darnak stood at the helm of the Zorath flagship, gazing down at Earth through the massive observation windows. His cold, calculating eyes watched as his fleet of 5,000 warships entered Earth's orbit. The planet appeared peaceful from this distance, too peaceful, almost. Darnak scoffed at the thought that this primitive world could pose any threat to the might of the Zorath Empire. They still don't know what's coming for them, Darnak muttered to himself, smiling with cruel satisfaction. It's almost sad how weak they are. Earth's defenses, he thought, were laughable. Their technology was outdated, and their military was no match for the might of the Zorath. The Empire had crushed empires far older and more advanced than this insignificant world, and Earth's so-called defenses wouldn't even last a day. As Darnak prepared to issue the command to begin the invasion, something strange happened. Earth did not react the way every other planet had reacted when faced with a similar threat. The communications that usually flooded through Zorath ships, screams of panic, desperate cries for help, never came. In fact, there was complete silence. At first, Darnak was amused. Are they trying to play games? He asked his officers, but they could only shrug in confusion. There was nothing. No one had come to defend Earth. No armies mobilized. No governments issued commands. It felt like the entire planet was holding its breath. No communication. No resistance. Darnak's amusement slowly turned into irritation. Activate the scanners. Find any signs of life. There has to be something, anything, he barked at his officers. The crew scrambled to comply, and after what felt like an eternity, the scan results came back. No signs of any military activity. No defense systems detected. For a moment, Darnak was puzzled. No defense systems. How is that possible? He muttered, pacing back and forth. He thought he had misheard, but the readings were clear. Earth had no active defense systems, no fleets in orbit, nothing. Was it possible that Earth was so weak they had no idea they were about to be invaded? Or worse, did they not even know who the Zorath were? The idea was laughable. There were rumors of humans being nothing more than a myth, a forgotten species lost to time. But the Zorath never believed in myths. They had erased them all. Now, with no enemy to fight back, they moved in closer to the planet, ready to make Earth another statistic in their long list of conquests. Darnak's lips curled into a sneer. Let's get this over with, he ordered, his voice growing more confident as he gave the command to begin the invasion. We'll send in a few scouts to test the waters. He watched as his fleet began to mobilize. But as soon as they made their move, something unexpected happened. Earth's communications, previously silent, were suddenly flooded with data. Thousands of digital transmissions lit up the airwaves, data streams that overwhelmed the Zorath fleet systems. Then, just as quickly as it began, it stopped. The Zorath had expected nothing. What they got instead was a single message that echoed across every ship, in every corner of their vast fleet. No one had prepared for it. No one had predicted it. The message was simple, too simple, yet so chilling. Every Zorath officer, from the highest command to the lowliest soldier, could hear it loud and clear. We're ready. The words hung in the air, their meaning slowly sinking in. The arrogance of the Zorath fleet faltered as the reality began to dawn on them. The silence they had so easily dismissed as weakness wasn't weakness at all. It was something else, something far more dangerous. Darnak's heart skipped a beat. He stared at the transmission, his mind racing. He had expected Earth to cower, to beg for mercy, to fall at the feet of the Zorath. Instead, what he got was a challenge, a defiant message. And now, that message was spreading like wildfire throughout the fleet. "We're ready." His fingers gripped the command console tightly as a sudden chill ran down his spine. This wasn't just a statement. It was a declaration. Whoever had sent it wasn't afraid of the Zoroth. They weren't begging for mercy. No, they were preparing for war. Darnak's eyes narrowed. "What have we walked into?" he whispered, his mind struggling to grasp what he was hearing. The message wasn't just a response. It was a warning. Then came the second shock. The Zoroth fleet, once so sure of their victory, now found their communications scrambled. All of their systems flickered and stuttered. No one could explain why. And before anyone could issue orders, the fleet went into chaos. The humans weren't retreating. They weren't hiding. They weren't begging for mercy. The Zoroth Empire had never encountered a species like this before. The tables had just turned, and the Zoroth were no longer the hunters. They were the prey. As the mysterious message from Earth reverberated through the Zoroth fleet, the atmosphere in their command ship shifted dramatically. The confidence that had once radiated from the commanders faltered. Commander Darnak, still gripping the control panel, struggled to comprehend what he had just witnessed. Earth, a planet they thought was nothing more than a myth, had just delivered a response that chilled the bones of the most battle-hardened soldiers in the galaxy. Darnak's officers scrambled to regain control over the situation. Panic spread among the ranks like wildfire. The usual sense of dominance that accompanied their vast fleet was now replaced by an unsettling uncertainty. "Do you hear that? They're not begging for mercy," Officer Zakar, Darnak's second in command, muttered. His voice trembled, betraying the shock that had gripped him. "I don't understand," Darnak snapped, his eyes darting across the control room. "What is this? Why haven't they fled or responded like every other species we've encountered?" Zekar, still shaken, quickly input commands on his console. "Sir, all communications are disrupted. Our systems can't trace the origin of the message. We've never encountered anything like this before. It's like the message. It came from everywhere." Darnak, now deeply perplexed, turned his attention to the massive view screen, which displayed a detailed image of Earth below. The once peaceful planet now seemed eerily calm, its surface hidden behind a veil of silence. No massive military fleets, no signs of panic, just an unsettling stillness. A silence that was no longer comfortable. "How is this possible?" Darnak muttered again, this time more to himself than to his officers. Why would they send a message like that? What could they possibly mean by "we're ready"? As his fleet began to move into position, ready to unleash their might on Earth, a series of blaring alarms cut through the air, causing every officer to freeze. The Zoroth fleet's sensors had picked up something unexpected. A faint energy signature from Earth. It was too small to be a military vessel, too weak to be any kind of threat. But the fact that it was there at all sent a ripple of unease through the Zoroth commanders. "Scan it," Darnak commanded, his voice now low and filled with suspicion. "I want to know what that is. Immediately." The scan results were nothing short of astonishing. It's a massive ship. Not just any ship. It's old," Officer Zekar reported, his eyes widening in disbelief. "The reading suggests it's been hidden for centuries, maybe even longer. But there's no way it should be still operational. Not with that level of decay." Darnak's heart raced. He had seen technology from ancient civilizations before, empires that had long since vanished. But nothing prepared him for what they were seeing now. "Activate all weapon systems," he ordered, his voice now tinged with dread. "Prepare for anything." As the Zoroth fleet neared Earth's orbit, the mysterious ship began to emerge from the shadows of the planet's atmosphere. Its design was unlike anything the Zoroth had ever seen. It was massive, ancient, and covered in markings that no one could decipher. It appeared as though it had been built to withstand millennia of harsh conditions. The ship's sudden appearance caused the Zoroth fleet to hesitate. The feeling of unease only grew as the massive vessel drifted toward them. It was as if it had been waiting for them, waiting for this moment. Darnak's fingers hovered over the control panel, ready to unleash the full power of the Zorath arsenal. But before he could give the order, something incredible happened. The alien ship, once hidden and dormant, activated. Without warning, it fired a massive energy beam directly at the Zorath flagship. The beam was so powerful that it caused the entire fleet to tremble. The shields of the flagship flickered but held, just barely. The Zorath commanders reeled in shock. What the hell was that? Officer Zico gasped. That's no myth, Darnak replied, his voice barely above a whisper. This is what we've been ignoring. This is what Earth has been hiding. As the beam faded, the ancient ship fell back into silence, as if waiting for the next move. Darnak's eyes narrowed. This was no coincidence. Earth wasn't the weak, defenseless world they had believed it to be. It had been hiding its strength all along, and now the Zorath had unknowingly awakened a sleeping giant. And that giant was ready for war. The tension in the air was palpable. Earth had just delivered the first blow, and it wasn't just a warning. It was a challenge. Darnak knew in that moment that this would not be an easy conquest. The Zorath were no longer the apex predators in this galaxy. They had just encountered something far more dangerous than they could ever have imagined. Now, Earth's silence would no longer be its weakness. It was the calm before the storm. A storm that the Zorath Empire had foolishly underestimated. As the Zorath fleet prepared for the next phase of their invasion, the question echoed in Darnak's mind. What had Earth truly been hiding? The silence was broken, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Zorath fleet was in chaos. The impact of the energy beam fired from the ancient ships still reverberated through their ships. Commander Darnak stood frozen before the massive viewscreen in his command center, staring out at the mysterious vessel that had just delivered the first blow. His mind raced, trying to understand what had just happened. That shouldn't be possible, Darnak muttered to himself. There's no way that ship could have such firepower. It doesn't make sense. His second-in-command, Officer Zakar, was equally shaken. Sir, this is unprecedented. We fought entire galactic fleets before. Nothing has ever been able to challenge us like this. And now, this ancient ship, it just fired on us like it was nothing. Darnak's fingers tightened around the armrest of his chair. He couldn't shake the thought that Earth had been hiding something. There was no way this planet, which had seemed so insignificant, could be hiding such immense power for centuries without anyone noticing. But somehow they had. And now, the galaxy's most powerful empire was staring down the barrel of a gun that it had never seen before. We need to find out everything we can about this ship, Darnak ordered. I don't care how ancient it is, we're going to study it. I want every possible scan, every data point we can get. His officers scrambled to comply, inputting commands into their consoles. The Zorath fleet was still within Earth's orbit, its ships positioned around the planet in a loose formation. The sight of the ancient ship looming in the distance, its dark silhouette against the backdrop of Earth, sent waves of unease throughout the fleet. But what was more unsettling was the ship's apparent inactivity. It had fired its weapon, and now it was just waiting. Sir, we've gathered some preliminary data, Zika said after a tense pause. The ship's technology is unlike anything we've encountered. It's far older than any civilization we've studied, and its systems are too advanced for its age. Whoever built that ship had knowledge that defies everything we thought we knew. Darnak listened intently. He had never been one to underestimate any opponent, but this was different. The Zorath had conquered countless worlds, and the most advanced species they had faced had nothing like what was hidden on Earth. Tell me more, Darnak said, his voice low and calculating. How can we know if we're facing a threat we can't handle? Zekar hesitated, clearly disturbed by the reports. Sir, it's not just the technology. The energy signatures we've detected are immense. almost like the ship is drawing power from an unknown source, something beyond anything we've seen in the galaxy. Are you saying Earth has more than just this ship? Darnak asked, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. We can't rule it out, Commander, Zikar replied cautiously. The data is incomplete, but there's a chance that there's more, much more, that we haven't discovered yet. The tension in the command center was suffocating. For the first time, Darnak realized just how vulnerable the Zoroth Empire had become. They had been used to ruling the galaxy with fear, to stomping out any resistance before it could even grow. But now, they were facing an unknown force, and it was clear that this would not be a simple conquest. Prepare for the worst, Darnak said, his voice firm with resolve. We cannot underestimate these humans. They've been hiding something for far too long, and it's time we find out what. Set up a plan to infiltrate their defenses. I want every possible advantage on our side before we make our next move. As Darnak gave his orders, the view screen in front of him suddenly flickered to life, and a new message appeared. The transmission was short, but the words sent a chill down his spine. We are not afraid. We will not surrender. Come and see what we've been hiding. The message was signed, Earth's command. The silence in the room grew heavy. The Zoroth officers exchanged nervous glances. It was one thing to send a cryptic message, but the certainty in those words was something else entirely. This wasn't just a bluff. This was a warning. The fleet began to move into position. Earth's response had been a declaration of defiance, not submission. Darnak knew that they had just been drawn into something far bigger than they had anticipated. The Zoroth were used to winning, used to conquering without question. But now, they were facing an adversary unlike anything they had ever encountered. As the fleet prepared to launch an assault, Darnak turned back to the view screen, staring at the ancient ship that loomed like a dark shadow over Earth. The Zoroth had always been the apex predators in the galaxy, but now they were faced with a species that had somehow, against all odds, survived the test of time, and had the power to defy everything the Zoroth thought they knew. But what terrified Darnak the most wasn't the ship itself. It was the feeling that the humans on Earth were just getting started. The Zoroth fleet stood in eerie silence, floating in the vast expanse of space. Earth's atmosphere shimmered below, the planet still quiet, as if holding its breath. But Commander Darnak knew something had changed. The cryptic message from Earth lingered in his mind. We are not afraid. We will not surrender. Come and see what we've been hiding. He had expected resistance. He had anticipated a final stand. But he had never expected this strange calm before the storm. And the more he thought about it, the more unsettling it became. Sir, we've completed a full scan of the Earth's surface, Officer Zikar reported, his voice tight with apprehension. There's no sign of any significant military infrastructure, no weapons capable of threatening our fleet. Earth's defenses are primitive. Darnak frowned, his mind racing. It didn't make sense. If Earth truly had no defenses, why had they issued that message? Why had they not responded with fear or panic like other planets the Zoroth had conquered? They had expected Earth to crumble beneath their might. But instead, Earth stood silent, daring them to approach. What's the status of the ship? Darnak asked, turning to the view screen. The mysterious vessel, which had fired on the Zoroth fleet earlier, was still positioned above Earth. It was silent, unmoving. The energy signatures they had detected before were gone, and there was no indication that it was preparing to fire again. Zikar glanced at his console. There's no activity from the ship, Commander. It's just waiting. Waiting for what? Darnak muttered, more to himself than to Zikar. He leaned forward, staring at the view screen, trying to piece together the puzzle. The Zoroth had conquered countless worlds, but Earth was unlike any other they had encountered. There was something here, something hidden deep within the planet, that the Zoroth could not yet comprehend. The Zoroth fleet hovered silently above Earth, its massive warships casting long shadows over the planet. Commander Darnak stood at the helm of his flagship, staring out into the expanse of space. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Something about Earth, something about the humans. For days now, the Zorith had observed the strange silence from Earth. There had been no major resistance, no sign of fear. The humans hadn't surrendered, but they hadn't fought back either. And the mysterious transmission they had sent, the one warning about the Gornak, still lingered in Darnak's mind. Why had Earth sent that message? Why had they mentioned the Gornak? Sir, Zeko's voice broke through his thoughts. We've received another transmission from Earth. It's different this time. Darnak's eyes narrowed. Play it. A distorted, crackling sound filled the room, and the image of a human officer appeared on the view screen. The officer was calm, composed, his expression unreadable. This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth's Central Command. The officer's voice echoed through the speakers. To the Zorith Empire, we welcome you. You've traveled far, and we know you've come expecting war. But what you don't understand is this. You're not the first to try and conquer Earth. And you won't be the last. Darnak's mind raced. The tone in the human's voice was not one of desperation, but of confidence, a stark contrast to what he had expected. We don't want to fight, Commander Reyes continued, her gaze steady. But if you push us, we will defend ourselves, and we will not be easy prey. Earth has something that even the Gornak fear, something you've never seen. And we've been preparing for this moment for longer than you can imagine. Darnak felt a chill run down his spine. What do they mean? He muttered, almost to himself. What could they have that the Gornak fear? As the transmission ended, a deep sense of dread settled in the pit of Darnak's stomach. He had faced countless battles, fought and conquered more planets than he could count, but nothing had ever made him feel as unsettled as this. Sir, there's something else, Zekar reported, his voice filled with alarm. The energy signature we detected from Earth, it's back. It's enormous. The view screen flickered, and an image of Earth's surface appeared. But this time, something had changed. Deep beneath the planet's crust, an energy source far greater than anything the Zorith had encountered before pulsed brightly. The signature was unmistakable, unlike anything the Zorith or even the Gornak could create. It was old, ancient even. Sir, it's a weapon, Zekar continued, his voice filled with awe. A weapon unlike anything we've ever seen. But the readings, it's unlike anything Earth could have created with their technology. It's alien. Darnak's heart skipped a beat. How is that possible? Earth is a primitive planet. They shouldn't have anything capable of this kind of power. Zekar nodded slowly. Maybe Earth isn't as primitive as we thought. Maybe they've been hiding something all along. Something far older and far more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. Darnak's mind raced, but his thoughts kept returning to the Gornak. What if the Gornak had known about this weapon? What if Earth had kept it secret all this time, preparing for an inevitable conflict? The pieces were starting to fall into place, but there was still so much unknown. He turned back to the view screen, staring at Earth. It wasn't just a planet anymore. It was a puzzle, a key to something far greater than any of them had realized. Prepare the fleet, Darnak ordered, his voice low and steady. We will not attack immediately, but we will be ready. Earth has something we don't understand, and I want to know what it is. As the Zorith fleet adjusted its position, a sense of foreboding filled the air. Commander Darnak knew they were on the verge of something monumental. Earth had hidden its power, but now it was about to be revealed. Whether it would be a weapon to defeat the Zorith or a force that would change the galaxy forever, he could not say. But he knew one thing for sure. Earth was not as helpless as it appeared, and the Zorith had underestimated it in a way they would soon regret.